And good evening, good afternoon, good morning to wherever you're watching from here in the Philippines and from all over the world. And welcome to my podcast, the RJ Ledesma Podcast. In my podcast, I interview the country's pioneering business personalities and aspiring entrepreneurs to learn more about how they think about their business, what are their success secrets in their business, and how we can reapply them into our own businesses. How have they innovated their businesses during this pandemic? But more importantly, what opportunities do they see emerging in the new normal and in new normal 2.0? Now, is there a business personality or entrepreneur that you would like me to interview here on the podcast? Please do let me know. I would love to learn from them. I'm sure you would love to learn from them as well. Just drop me a message. We are also live right now on Kumu, CBRC TV, Global Pinas TV, and now the Bounce Back Network. If you are enjoying my podcast and you are learning a lot from it, please do me a favor, subscribe and invite more friends to listen to the RJ Ledesma Podcast. And in tonight's podcast, very honored to have my guest, who is the President and CEO of AXA Philippines, Mr. Rahul Hora. Rahul has had more than 24 years of experience in various industries. And upon joining AXA Philippines, he has worked as Chief Agency Officer, Board of Directors member, and Chief Operating Officer up to his current position in 2016, leading the company to transform and innovate services to address the customer's needs. So without further ado, please welcome my very special guest, Rahul Hora. Rahul, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, RJ. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me on your podcast.
Rahul, very happy. I'm doing very well, and I hope you're doing well here. And there's one thing I want to say, I think to the people listening to the podcast here right now. Rahul, you've been here long enough in the country to be technically you're an honorary Filipino. You're almost Filipino, right?
Yes, as I always share in my introduction, I've spent 12 years in the Philippines. So by all means and with all reasons, I am half Filipino. Not biologically, but by heart, by mind, by spirit, everything truly half Filipino.
Well, what's the most Filipino thing that you are here right now? What's the most Filipino thing that you've picked up since your stay over here?
I would say the language is the last, so I can give you that. So leave that out of the picture for today's podcast also. But I think what I just love the biggest impact that Philippines has had on me is the culture of the country, is the people, and the kind-heartedness, and the warmth of Philippines is something which has left a big mark on me. And one of the things which I really I have embraced and I have really been impacted by is the spirit of the Filipinos to be always happy, and
Mhm.
the spirit of positivity and optimism is something which is absolutely phenomenal, and I think it's one of the rare ones across the world.
Oh, fantastic. So, oftentimes because we are often beset by natural calamities and tragedies, you see that our positivity goes hand in hand with the sort of resiliency which is part of the Filipino character. And having said that, Rahul,
Absolutely.
just one question. I hope you don't mind asking one more question about being an expat here in the Philippines. If you look at, in general, why do you think that the Philippines is really a great place for opportunity? Because, many Filipinos, they often think, I have to find, and no fault to them, no? They often find their opportunities outside of the country. But you're seeing a lot of opportunities here in the Philippines, also not just from a personal standpoint, but from a professional and macroeconomic standpoint. What do you think makes the Philippines really a great place to do business in and to invest in?
Sure. So I think for me, a few things. I'm not an economist by any standard, RJ,
Mhm.
but being a CEO of a company and being in the Philippines for 12 years, I think the Philippines is at the cusp of a lot of opportunities at this point of time, and I can tell you why. And I think some of the reasons which make Philippines an extremely a great market to be in and a great place to be in at this point of time is, first of all, I think the population, right? I mean, it's one of the largest. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's the seventh largest country in the world by population. We
Mhm.
are almost touching 107, 8 million people in the Philippines. So apart from the sheer size, the other great thing which goes in favor of Philippines is the demographic profile of the people. In a lot of other developed countries, they are facing with a lot of challenges of the population demographic, spread being very skewed towards people who are very senior in age, and the number
Mhm.
of people who are at the younger side of the population pyramid being lesser in number, which means that there are less number of people who are producing for the economy as compared to the people who are consuming from the economy. Philippines is in a very unique position where it is a large country and there is a very significantly large population of people which is in the age band of 27 and below,
Mhm.
which
That's right.
is which makes the country relatively younger. A lot of people, who are willing to contribute to the economy, which will lead the economy to a significant and a consistent growth over a period of time. The other aspect to this is that large population, good spread of the population in terms of age demographics, and the third is the increasing affluence of all these people. These are all people who are now entering into a good age band where they're going to become consumers, and the Filipinos are becoming richer and richer. Each individual is becoming richer. They have more money. The affluence of the economy, or sorry, of the country, of the people, is becoming more because the economy is doing well. The economy, I'm going into the pre-COVID era, was growing at a 6% healthy rate year on year. There's a lot of discussion about how to further accelerate it. It's getting I would say it's getting more widespread. The contributors to economy. So there are a lot of these kind of reasons which makes Philippines a very, very conducive market to be in. Self consumption, I can go on and on, but if I was at that age where I want to be doing something for myself, either as an entrepreneur or I want to be part of an organization and grow the organization, I think Philippines is an absolutely great market to be in. And we see that in my own industry of insurance. I think the number of new players which have entered the market over the last few years is one of the highest that we've ever seen. Which means, of course, everybody is doing their homework and seeing Philippines as a great opportunity to be in at this point in time.
Well, thanks so much for recontextualizing things for us. Oftentimes, if you live here, you get very jaded about the whole situation. But it's nice to see a different perspective and seeing a larger perspective of how the Philippine economy is primed for growth, even with the pandemic. Now, having said that, let's take a look at the pandemic right now. And I hope you don't mind that we look at it through the lens of the insurance industry. Now, you know what? There were two big, two major events which happened. Of course, the first one was Odette. Well, of course, there was Typhoon Odette, but before that one, there was the Taal volcano eruption, which were natural calamities. But of course, these were sort of like smaller in scale compared to the pandemic, the rise of this pandemic. But these incidents altogether, when you look at them, how has the pandemic, along with these natural calamities, really, reshaped our insurance industry? How has it affected us? And aside from that one, what has been our experience versus the rest of the world? Because when I look at the insurance industry, I'm thinking of it in two ways, Rahul. The first one is, of course, people are saying, okay, how do I make how do I make claims during this pandemic? Because this is the first time they're encountering a pandemic of this sheer magnitude since the 1918 flu. At the same time, insurance in terms of doing the business, how do I reach out to my client now in the midst of something of this pandemic? So let's go back to you. What is your perspective? How has it reshaped the insurance industry here in the Philippines?
Okay. So Ajay, before I answer that question, I'll give you a little bit quick, crash course on what are the kind of propositions that an insurance industry brings to the customer in the Philippines, right? Because a lot of time, insurance is very negatively connoted to, oh, I would need insurance only if I die. I think that
That's right. That's right.
that's been the
Prevailing
prevailing
notion.
notion, or that's the only proposition which people relate to when they think about insurance. But that's not true. I think a very significantly large number of insurance products are actually sold on the context or on the proposition of systematic savings. So let's go back to a consumer, a customer. So when a customer lives through the various life stages of one's life, right, there are a few predictable events in an individual's life, and there are then certain unpredictable events in a certain individual's life. So insurance plays a very important role in either of those two. And what do I mean by that? The predictable life stages or predictable things which will happen in an individual's life is, as you progress, you grow your families, you have kids, and then the children grow. There are needs which are more predictable in nature, such as educational needs. And then, as you pass through the life stages, you will at some point of time have a need of having your own house. There are other and towards the end of the life, you have an individual has the need of retirement. So there are a lot of these life stages needs which a person can have a fair estimate of what is it that I would need at what time of my life, and how is it progressing, and you can plan for that. And then there are these unpredictable side of life where unfortunate incidents happen, either whether it is caused by natural calamities, or whether it's the pandemic that we faced in the last 2 years. I think nobody expected the severity of this pandemic, or simple accidents which happen, which can definitely throw all your plans out of gear. So an insurance industry and the products that we sell actually add value to people's life on both these two aspects. The first aspect on which, or the proposition on which insurance products have been sold for many years, is savings, is systematically putting certain money aside for wealth accumulation. So I have a certain need in mind which is clear: children's education, retirement, and I know how many years it is far away from me. I would have an estimate on what amount of money would I need for that, and I can start systematically saving for that future need. And then, as I said, the unpredictable parts of an individual's life is also where insurance products come in and offer products which help you protection, which offer protection, which gives you a certain lump sum of money to be able to deal with that unplanned kind of incident that happens in an individual's life. So the products and propositions of insurance industry are quite widespread, but not a lot of customers know about it. And that's what I would say, that the while the savings part has always been there in the minds of the customers, and most of the products of insurance were bought because of those reasons in the past, the pandemic itself brought about this awareness and this appreciation that things can go wrong. And the other incidents that you talked about, like the volcanic eruption, the Odette, typhoon and all that, we've seen more and more natural calamities also posing that particular risk to our customers now. So people are becoming suddenly so much more aware and conscious of this particular challenge that they are up against, and they feel the need to be prepared for these kind of unforeseen circumstances, because they are becoming more frequent, and they're also becoming more severe in terms of impact on an individual's life. And that is the biggest shift that we are seeing in consumer behavior, that they have suddenly become extremely conscious, and they've warmed up to that whole idea of protection. There is one term which you would associate Philippines and Filipinos with most, which is YOLO. So people have suddenly started to figure out that, hey, I can't be YOLO always. I need to strike the right balance between being YOLO and also doing some good planning, and having a good sound financial plan for myself.
Did you happen to see anecdotally, or even in terms of the figures, that because of people warming up to the idea that they need insurance now, did you see an uptick in the number of people investing in insurance policies during this pandemic?
Absolutely, RJ. We've seen that, and especially I would say health insurance. It's one of
Mhm.
the biggest trends that we are observing in the market. The last 2 years of people experiencing COVID has made them realize two aspects about health insurance. One, that the health uncertainty, or the health, the risks which are associated with health uh, are real, and it can happen to anybody anytime. And also the associated costs with these medical expense, or the risks that one faces. The expenses, it's really becoming extremely expensive. And if you look at another data point of medical inflation, you will see that
Mhm.
medical inflation is also one of the most significant on year basis. So I think for every individual, whether it was COVID or other lifestyle diseases, people are seeing, either within their own family or within their own social circles, that a severe critical illness is becoming a reality with which an individual will have to live with. And in order for an individual to live with these risks, the cost associated with this is quite high. And COVID has really brought that level of interest much higher. So we get a lot of inquiries as compared to the past on what our products is. If you look at within our product portfolio, the health products is the fastest growing product
Wow.
for us. So all indicators, all data are supporting that particular hypothesis that we have, that health is really becoming. And we've done a lot of surveys, not only us but a lot of other institutions are doing surveys out in the market of consumers. And one thing which is coming out loud and clear is that customers are really becoming conscious and aware of the need of a health protection product for themselves.
Now, having said that, this is the interesting thing. A lot of insurance became very, I guess, particularly health insurance became very popular, especially because of this pandemic. But despite that, what you've also seen, I guess, and we've talked about this offline, is that many Filipinos are still uninsured or underinsured up to this point. I mean, there's still a large opportunity. I guess you can even say that because of the number of new companies coming to the Philippines to delve into insurance. But let's take a step back. Tell us a bit more. What is the profile of Filipinos when it comes to insurance? How many still, I guess, need insurance? What's preventing them from becoming insured in the first place?
So, okay, I think the first point that you made, which was a very right point, is that do we still have the challenge of under insurance, or no insurance at all? I would say yes, and I'm expanding the realm of this answer to life protection, to health insurance, to GI insurance. Across all types of insurance, we've seen customers having either are underinsured or completely have no insurance. As I said, one of the most recent areas of interest for consumers as well as insurance companies is health. And just to share a data point, almost as high as 47-48% of the total medical expense of the country, of the consumers put together, is actually out of pocket, which means that there is
Wow.
no form of insurance which plays. So and this is including government and private insurance support that is being provided to consumers. Now that is one of the highest, even if you compare the Philippines with the other Southeast Asian countries. It is definitely the highest. I'm not even going to the developed country where mostly all forms of medical coverages are government funded. So that in itself is a huge opportunity, which us as insurance companies are of course, as I said, we are playing into, and we are developing our strategies to help our customers in that aspect. Uh, and the second question that you asked is, why is this this particular phenomenon? I think there are
Mhm.
two reasons of that. One is the lack of education. A lot of customers don't really know how these health insurance works. There is not enough effort from the private sector or from the government sector in educating the customers on the importance of health insurance, and why is it that the health insurance is needed. I think a lot of people have that kind of a confidence, even if they are. So some part of the society is in that employer-employee relationship. So they have like an HMO, they have their employer providing the health insurance for them. But there is a big part of the society which does not belong to that employer-employee relationship, and hence they have literally no form of insurance except for the government support which is there. But even if you talk of the employer-employee, where the HMO industry does operate,
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
I don't think a lot of employees understand that the HMO coverages are not enough. Today, the medical expense of any critical illness is so significant that the HMO only takes a very small percentage of that
Ye-
coverage. So
Yes,
a lot of
yes.
that money would have to be shelled out of pocket, but they get hit by that fact only when something goes wrong. So it's really lack of education, and a lot of effort needs to be put in that particular area for us to ensure. And of course, I mean, I would say a podcast like yours, RJ, is a great opportunity for us to bring that message, because we really need a lot of sources of education and information to our customers on that aspect. The other aspect is that Philippines, I've observed over the last 12 years, is a very high consumer driven society. I think I was talking about being YOLO.
Our economy is consumer driven. So strongly
Exactly,
consumer
right?
driven. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think if I have a certain amount of money, I would rather spend it to enjoy it, and that's where the YOLO mentality comes in,
Mhm.
or versus a savings mentality, right? And
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
come from another third world country. I've lived for a very long time in India. I was born there. India is a third world country, but the savings mentality is extremely strong in that country. I think as children,
Really?
when
Wow.
we grow up, I think all our parents, what they teach us to begin with is how to save. And I was sharing this very recently with one of my friends that one of the first few gifts and a behavior that you're introduced to in a middle income group family by your parents is that you are given a money bank as a gift when you're still a kid in one of your birthdays, and you are given that habit that you need to put a certain amount of money in that money bank on a daily basis, and you will come to a point when it's your birthday, or when it's another special occasion, where you will break that money bank, get all the money which you've accumulated over a long period of time to buy your gift. So that's a very, I would say, very interesting habit and a behavior that is built into an Indian child very early, because that shows us that you need to systematically put aside certain money to then enjoy the benefits or reap the benefits, or enjoy that lump sum accumulated money that you have, and then you can enjoy uh, you know uh, 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 that particular accumulated money for some big gift, you know
Mhm.
rather than here it's the other way around. You buy the gift, you buy the big asset, and then you basically get into debts and into EMIs to continue to pay for it in your subsequent years, right? Whereas it's a reverse in India. You save Muna, then you reach to a point when you've accumulated, if not 100%, at least a significant part of that money, and then you take a little bit more borrowing and then buy that asset. I think in the Philippines I've seen it the other way around. So the moment you have some level of regular income, you go for that big expense because you feel that your EMIs, you can pay or those EMIs through your source of income. So that's a big mindset which I've seen it prevails in Philippines. That's why saving money to keep certain money aside, putting certain money for a future challenge that might come. All those things are not part of how a Filipino mindset typically is, and that's why things like insurance are kind of gets a backseat. But again,
And
having said that, I think that's another big change that COVID has done, right? I mean, suddenly people have realized that that thinking that nothing wrong can happen with you is the wrong thinking, because COVID hit a very significantly large population of our friends and family members in Philippines, which is a bit sad. So we learned the lesson the hard way, I would say. But I hope that this learning and this lesson remains, and we see, and the behavior change that we've been seeing in the last 2 years, gives us enough momentum and enough reason to make that change in a more permanent, on a more permanent basis, and a more, on a long term basis, rather than just for these 2 years.
And having said that, Rahul, allow me to put on sort of like my entrepreneurial mindset hat over here. There were two opportunities which you sort of identified earlier on. Is that the number one, many Filipinos still remain underinsured or uninsured. Like you were saying, the HMO can't handle everything for them, right? And the second one is also the financial understanding of how to handle money, how to make sure that instead of it being a cost to them or spending the money, they can systematically save the money, which is basically what another aspect of what insurance is. Have you seen this opportunity? Have you seen them not as pain points, but rather as, I guess, opportunities in the insurance industry? How is AXA Philippines trying to tackle these issues to get more Filipinos to systematically save through insurance, or to get them to become to change their habits when it comes to insurance and putting money aside as a savings?
So I think first and foremost, as I said, I mean, when I see the opportunity of lack of education, right, lack of awareness, I think we are putting in a lot of effort as an organization on educating and making people aware. I think we believe that if the right amount of awareness and education is provided, then the outcome of that behavior, of that purchase, will automatically happen. So that's the first part. And of course, um, the if you look at the and the huge change which is enabling our efforts in this particular direction is the way companies can bring their messages now across to the consumers. I think if you go back a few years, the only way an organization would interact with the consumer is by mass scale media. It's always above the line.
Yes.
You put a hoarding up, you put an ad in the newspaper, you put an ad in the television. Those were not effective ways of educating, because those are just flash in the pan kind of branding efforts, but they don't leave lasting impact. They'll probably just, at best, you'll be able to retain that. Oh, when I mention AXA, people will know, oh yeah, I saw AXA on a certain billboard, or AXA has this particular program that they sponsor, but it does not enable us to educate. But if you look at how digital interaction with the consumers has really evolved over these years, it really enables us now to interact with our customers in a very different fashion, to educate, and gives us lots of opportunities to bring our message to our consumers in a more impactful fashion. We can segment the customers and reach out to those customers in a very significant, in a very targeted fashion. So as compared to a one size fits all advertising or promotion strategy of the past, we can now do so much tailor made education stuff and reach out to these segmented customers in the right way. And again, I would say your podcast is a classic example. These wouldn't even exist a few years back. There is social media, which allows us not to just go in with a, with a 30-second ad, which, which kind of cost us a bomb. But you could do various, you could, the amount of opportunities available to an insurance company through channels of communication are many. So that's one big enabler of our strategy. The other one is, of course, we also need to raise the bar for ourselves, in terms of the kind of products
Yes.
that we offer, the kind of services that we offer, and how do we offer them. We have to ensure that we are pushing ourselves on that aspect on a regular basis. So and that's what we've done over the last few years. I think if you go back in history 10 years, we probably would have had only a few products on the platform and on the proposition of savings. But now we have savings. We have improved on those products. We have included in the last 5 to 6 years health products. And we are very proud of the fact that AXA is one of the companies in the Philippines with the largest range of health products. Then, if you go on the general insurance side, I think we are the only significantly large company which has life, GI, and health, all the products. So we are also enhancing the wide range of propositions to make ourselves relevant for the customers across various needs. And the way we bring it, we are bringing all these things to the customers in a digital fashion, so that it's convenient for the customer. It's convenient for the customer to interact with us. We have our app, Emma, through which they can deal with all their post purchase issues with us. So there are lots of these kind of initiatives which we are doing on our end to make ourselves more relevant for our customers. So I think these are the two, very broadly speaking, efforts that we've made in making, or in taking taking benefit, or strategizing how to capture those opportunities that I was talking about.
I hope you don't mind I drill down a bit more on how things have changed for you, especially in the innovations that you've had, particularly in dealing with the clients, because right now it's a different atmosphere. We went to work from home. You couldn't see the client. It really must have changed initially for many of your Marines who are out there, getting people to invest in AXA. What have been the sort of digital innovations that have changed the customer experience right now to make it? Has it become more challenging but become more innovative for you to get to your clients, and for also as well for the people marketing the insurance, or get people to invest in policies?
Yeah, absolutely, RJ. I mean, innovation always, is arises from challenges, which so innovation is always the is what comes from when you're pushed against the wall. And that's exactly the experience that we had. Not to say that we were not focusing on digitally enabling our business, but when COVID happened in 2020 in March, we suddenly found ourselves in a situation where all the ways in which we had ever known how to do business were taken away from us. So it was more a matter of survival. And I must say that at this point of time, with all, I have a lot of respect for the local, regulator,
Mhm.
our commissioner, IC, as a regulator, and Commissioner Puna, and his entire team really geared up to support the insurance industry, to enable us to change very quickly, to ensure
Yes.
that we were still in this, in this completely changed environment, we are able to meet the needs of our customers. So given all those support from our regulator, we were all able to quickly transform ourselves. We were able to enable our distributors to reach out to the customers in a digital format, because we had been working on this for a lot of for many years. A lot of very high significant number of our distributors already at least had the digital assets, the physical
Okay.
assets to be able to talk to the customers. So it's not that now everybody is running helter skelter to buy iPads and all and figure out how to use them, but all that was already done. So
Mhm.
we had the ground laid out, we had the fundamentals laid out. We just had to speed up our digital innovation in that aspect. So we found it relatively easier as compared to some of our competitors. So we see these 2 years, and coming out of these 2 years of COVID, more opportunities than challenges. I think the opportunities and the benefits that is coming out of this COVID are so much more, I would say, superior versus the challenge that we faced in the last 2 years. Uh, there has been a significant shift in our distributor behavior and our customer behavior in the last 2 years because of COVID, which I think, despite of all our efforts, we wouldn't have made that shift. I think even in 5 years, if not worse. So all that shift that we could have expected to make in 5 or even longer years was crashed in just 2 years. So the
so,
industry is
so
completely transformed.
it's a sort of like a silver lining for you, in effect. What's happened to you? It actually improved. Were there certain products which emerged as a result, or certain innovations which you emerged uniquely as a result of this pandemic, because you were going to accelerate digital transformation anyway, right? But was something unique, what was something unique, or that you learned, that you were able to reapply in this pandemic, that you think is going to be uh, of lasting or sustainable impact to the organization, whether it be product, whether it be process, whether it be a service?
Yeah, I think for me, first of all, I'll just take a step back and share with you at AXA, and this is not only AXA in Philippines, but AXA globally.
Hmm.
We are all very passionately driven by our noble purpose, right? And our noble purpose is act for human progress by protecting what matters. And in these 2 years, what mattered to the customers most was health. So for us, it was a no-brainer. We know what drives us from our purpose, and if you just reach out to the customer, even if you don't need to do any service. It was so loud and clear that at
Hmm.
that point of time in these last 2 years, what is most important was health protection for the customers. And that's where we focused. We focused in not only just uh, further expanding our health products, but what we focused on was to create a whole health ecosystem for our customers. I think the first thing that we did was we reached out to our customers immediately and said, even if COVID has happened, we are all there for you. So it's not that it's going to be difficult for you to find where we are. Even as an organization, we were up and running in just 1 week time. We were able to ensure that all our
Wow.
employees were operating, our contact centers were there. Even if physically our branches were shut down, our head office was shut down, we were all it was like work as usual. It just took us a total of 7 days from getting everybody operational in the first 7 days after the clampdown or the big lockdown happened. So that was a huge element of trust and element of giving that confidence to our distributors and then to our customers, that hey, AXA is there. Even if it's probably a situation which is unforeseen, AXA is ready for these kind of challenges, and we are there for our customers. Then from there on, we started ensuring that we are broadening our product offerings on health to our customers, and we are also bringing in services to our customers which we felt were becoming extremely relevant for our customers around health. Now, what are these services? One, teleconsultation. We all know
Wow.
that you have, I mean, COVID was not the only medical problem. Yes, it was the most severest one, but we are still all reeling with our day to day issues on somebody is sick, my child is sick, somebody is sick in the family because of whatever reasons. And we knew how difficult it was to access health system at that point in time, and not only from an availability standpoint but also from a scare standpoint. Nobody wanted to go to a hospital because they thought we will
Yes.
catch COVID there. So teleconsultation was a great service that we brought to our customers at that point in time, partnering with some of the local experts who provide that service in a very efficient manner. And suddenly we saw our customers really appreciating, our distributors appreciating that we are able to bring these services because it added a lot of value to them. And for some of the customers, we were able to offer it for free. We also wanted a lot of our prospects who are not even our customers can go onto our platform and use these services which are provided by our partners. We also partnered with another local supplier and ensured that beyond teleconsultation, even medical services are made available to customers at home. Whether it is simple, diagnostic test, whether it is medicine delivery at home. So all those things are kind of services which were continuing to be important, critical, but the way in which the customer used to have access to it was completely broken and taken away. you know.
Hmm.
So those were the things that we really focused on. These were innovative ideas, these were new things, but definitely, again, it was things which mattered to our customer, and it was things which they needed, you know. So that's what we really spent a lot of time in the last 2 years doing. We started building health as an ecosystem. The other thing is that we did a lot of education of our customers on facts like, a lot of people, yes, there was a lot of information available, but there was also a lot of information which was not creditable, which was going around in social media on what is COVID,
Hmm.
how to deal with
Hmm.
it, what are the various symptoms, what are the kind of risks involved. So we did a lot of educational seminars, and these were all digital seminars. So we got experts from the medical connection, from the medical industry that we know of, which have worked with us for very long, and we brought them to on our platforms to share actual information which is creditable, which our customers were looking forward to. When vaccinations were getting rolled out, a lot of people had questions on vaccinations. So again, we got
Yes.
our medical experts, the best doctors in the country, to answer some of these questions of our customers, and we organized regular sessions, digital sessions for our customers, where we brought them close to these medical experts. So a lot of these kind of services which we brought to the customer, because we really believe that health is not just unilateral, right? It's like a whole ecosystem which is important for the customer, and we need to be more relevant to our customers across various touch points and various needs, rather than just be a one point or one claim provider to the customer. So that's been our focus for the last 2 years, and something which we are really very passionate and proud of, that we were able to contribute to the success of our to ourselves and of our success, but at the same time, be of value to our customers.
Talking about being relevant to the customer here right now. Oftentimes when they see an insurance company is a touch point, they want to make sure that I mean, you're seeing this right now. All aspects of their life must be insured. Uh, how is AXA also approaching that opportunity right now, which you're seeing emerging right now? I mean, to be sort of like a one-stop shop for them, because you're already educating people. If you can educate them, let's educate them fully on the broad spectrum of what insurance can do for them.
Yes, so you're absolutely right. So what we've done is, of course, we have looked at the most significant risks that our customers have, and I think we all know that climate is a concern for the entire world. But if you break down and look into the numbers, you'll be. I was personally surprised when we saw that you know uh, the impact of climate change. If you were to rank the countries in terms of vulnerability, then Philippines is actually number two across the whole
Yes,
world.
yes,
So we are
that's
we are
right.
at the highest risk, just after Japan, because we really are exposed to every kind of natural calamity that we could think of, whether it's earthquake, whether it's volcanic eruptions, whether it's typhoons. So if you look at the frequency, but also at the same time the intensity, you know it's really scary numbers. I think 9 out of the 10 worst typhoons that Philippines has faced has happened only in the last 10 years. So it's the frequency and the intensity is becoming so severe, and again, we believe that as a customer, you need to be aware of all the risks that you are going to be facing in the near or in the distant future, and ensure that you are keeping yourself protected against all. We don't want our customers to be left vulnerable on any single aspect. And that's what I would say our education focus is all we are focusing on. And as I said, we are very proud of the fact that as an organization, we are the only significantly large company with all the resources behind us of developing the right products, distributing the right products, having the financial capability to provide for the claims that we insure. So all aspects, if you see, we are the only significantly large company in the country today which can really offer a financial one-stop shop and ensure that our customers are protected against every possible risk that they are facing in front of themselves in the next few years to come. So
Wow.
that's really our I would say driver and our all the things that we've been focusing on in. in the last few years.
And having said that, Rahul, we often tell people that, and Albert Einstein once said, in the midst of crisis lies great opportunity. I don't want to sound, I don't want to sound opportunistic rather, but then, when we put on our hats as businessmen, as entrepreneurs, we often say, okay, there is crisis, and but in the midst of that one, there are also emerging business opportunities. There are many entrepreneurs, business owners, people listening to the podcast here right now, thinking, okay, what do you see as the emerging opportunities also as a result, from your insurance perspective, from the perspective of the insurance industry? You're seeing that they're building health ecosystems, you're building one-stop shop financial systems. How can people sort of support? How can entrepreneurs continue to, play in those fields and create businesses which can be long-term and sustainable, given everything that's happening and all the opportunities which are emerging as a result of these different crises?
Sure. Ajay, I mean, I would again answer it in two ways. I think one is, uh, I mean, as you said, that you have a lot of entrepreneurs listening to your podcast. So my first message to them would be that it's not always about completely, thinking out of the box. There is a
Mm-hmm.
huge opportunity to gain efficiencies and doing, what your core business is, doing the same business differently. So it's not always about doing different things, but doing things
Mm-hmm.
differently. I think that's the key message that I would want to give to our friends. A lot of times we get too distracted by, hey, can I just completely dismantle my business model and build a new one? No, I mean, there is a lot of opportunities to do the same things but do it differently. So be aware of what's happening to you and try to connect, break down your business model across the whole value chain and see that all the elements that you have in your value chain, can I do this differently using the new
Mm-hmm.
technologies which are coming in? Being aware that my consumers are behaving in a different fashion right now, their preferences have changed, their behaviors have changed. How can I take advantage of that shift which has happened, so significant shift that has happened? How can I adjust my business model to that particular shift? you know and I think it's not necessarily completely thinking of a new business model. So that shift in itself will make you more relevant for your customers, will make you, probably will bring some efficiency into the system, will help you, I would say, reduce your costs, or scale up your model, much multiple folds without making those investments. And that's the name of the game. I would say, again, doing things differently, it's going to be a key for success. The other, of course, is, if you are an entrepreneur which is looking for absolutely new opportunities, there are many in the market, and all of them are primarily focused on, I would say, if I was to come from an insurance context, it's all around health.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of things are around digital, I would say. And of course, I would probably sound like a broken record, because every session that they would have heard, they would have talked about, they would have heard about digital. But for me, digital is a huge, it's like a ocean. So jumping into it, you have to always be grounded on what is it that you're trying to achieve. I think, um, a lot of times we lose sight of the business model, or what is it that you're trying to offer to the customer. Draw that first, be clear with that, and then see if you can do that in a totally different fashion, whether you can do it digitally. So for example, taking health as an example and taking digital as an example, in the past, and we all know that, when you reach out to doctors, medical professionals, you would remember that, a lot of times we will have to go to our medical practitioners on a multiple times for any medical situation or condition that we are facing. And
Mm-hmm.
most of these, I would not say most, but all of these interactions with our medical practitioners were all face to face, right? We had to go, and every time we would go, we'll have to queue up, and all those things. So they were a bit inconvenience, but that's the only way we would know how to deal with our medical practitioners. And I'm not talking about my grandparents or my parents. I'm talking about a life that we were in 5 years back. But now,
Exactly.
you would get to interact with the same medical practitioner by probably having one face to face meeting, but the others are completely digital. you know Uh, but but you have to understand that if now there is an opportunity for having those the same business model, the business model hasn't changed, your diseases haven't changed, but it's the interaction with your medical practitioner which is now available in a phygital manner. You have to have a physical, but then the rest of the follow up sessions could be digital, because it's anyways a very quick follow up. uh, then the opportunity is, can I as an entrepreneur build a platform, you know which is, because it's not just it's not just a Zoom call, because a Zoom call does not allow you to save all the discussions that you had. It does not allow you to save the medical records, given it doesn't put you into buckets. So there are a lot of those things which a Zoom call is not conducive for having a medical interaction, because it is not made for that particular objective. So I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs have an opportunity to really study some of these business models going were changing, and then coming up with technologies or coming up with tools which will really enable that particular interaction, and hence totally new business opportunities, I would say, to are opening up for entrepreneurs. So just try to make my point, giving you an example of how there are more and more opportunities coming the way of entrepreneurs, but you have to really be smart enough to think about those.
Very creative. I hope people were taking down notes, because Rahul, if they do, they can just go back again and say, "Hi, can I be part of the health ecosystem of AXA Philippines?"
Absolutely, we would welcome that.
And having said that, Rahul, you're the, I mean, I hope to say you're the biggest salesman for AXA Philippines here right now. And for the people who are listening to the podcast, if they just happen to be still underinsured or uninsured up to this point, and they're saying, my gosh, should I still get insured? Amidst this pandemic, insurance policies might be, for them, they might think it's going up over the roof right now. Is it still a good time to get insured?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say there is always a good time to get insured. And again, I think the beauty about insurance is that all our products, are can be tailor made. We don't make our products with the thinking of one size fits all. All our products are extremely flexible, and what we do is, when we sit down with the customer and we try to understand the needs, we have the ability to tailor make the product, depending on the needs of the customer. So the product name might be just the same, because it's not named differently for each customer. So it's the same name, but I could pick and choose features which are relevant to me. I could choose the tenure for how long I want to be in that product, depending on my personal need, rather than anybody else. So I would definitely give two suggestions. One, uh, you need insurance. You need to talk to a financial advisor to be able to get to understand the other idea is, the other thing that I want to say is that spend time in it. It's not an FMCG product that you're buying. It's not an off the shelf kind of a Coke that can of Coke that you're purchasing. It's a very important purchase. So please spend time with our or with your financial advisors on what exactly the product can do. What is your need? What is it that you're looking for? How do you prioritize your needs, and then choose the product which is best suited for you. So you really have to do a little bit of I would say detailed discussions, understanding of the product, so that you can really buy the product which is best suited to an individual, because our products is not off the shelf kind of products. So while we are making it flexible, it really works best for the customer if we get the customer also to invest his or her time in understanding and tailor making the product best suited to the customer.
And I was listening to your suggestion, Rahul. You kept on saying, when you meet your insurance advisor, or when you talk to him, well, many of them are asking themselves right now, how do I actually meet them when we can't go meet sometimes you can't meet them face to face? Where can they go? Do they go to your app, which I think is called Emma? How do they reach out to an insurance advisor now from AXA Philippines?
Yeah, our insurance advisors, you can of course reach out to them through our website, or You can even call us up on our contact center, and we can link you to a financial advisor. And the other aspect that you talked about is the physical face to face. Not necessary. I think a lot of these exploratory discussions can actually happen digitally. We are also very conscious of the fact that we wouldn't want to put at risk any one of our customers or even our distributors. But I would say even just visit our website. Just visit our website, and there is so much of information that is there. You can do a little bit of preliminary research there by yourself. And then whenever you feel more comfortable because you've done your preliminary research and you really now have some identified questions that you have in your mind where you want more clarity, that is the best time to really reach out to our contact center or to one of our financial advisors, where there is again a lot of information of that on our websites and on our as I said, you can call us up on our contact center as well. So we'll be more than happy to serve all of you and all our customers and all our prospects. And again, we are spread across the country, so it doesn't matter wherever you are there from, you will find an AXA advisor there.
And with that, thank you so much for coming onto the program, Rahul Hora, President and CEO of AXA Philippines. And thanks again for believing in the Filipino and, of course, the great opportunity that lies here in the Philippines. Again, thank you so much for joining me on the RJ Ledesma Podcast. We will see you in the next podcast. Thanks so much for listening, guys. We'll see you next podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, RJ. Thank you so much.
Thank you.